Oh, this is Business Pants, live from an ESG-shaped Christmas tree. It's the ESG industry's only weekly woke data podcast featuring analyst Matt Moscardi. And today's ESG-flavored egg roll called December 20th, 2023. I didn't realize it was that late. December 20th. Jesus.
Yeah, it's late. Yeah.
Matt's Anti-Woke Awards. Now,
what? Anti-Woke Awards!
Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlow Analytics, the only ESG data platform to measure real board influence and diversity power gaps, and much more, honestly. But that's just some of the stuff it does.
It does a lot of
I actually use it
a lot.
for every show that we create. For all of our pre-production, I'm constantly on the platform getting data about different directors and companies. Just saying.
That's interesting.
All right, let's get to it. Come on.
Let's do it.
Anti-Woke Awards. Come on, let's get to it.
Let's do this
excited for
thing.
this.
It is the Anti-Woke Award show that no one asked for and everyone wants.
Actually, that's your first lie. I think I asked for it. Did I not?
I think you did,
Yeah.
actually. You specifically
I'm
asked for
excited
this.
for this.
All right. First up, are you ready? So the way this award show works is you are judging. I will basically say whether or not you're correct, but you are judging, and then we will hand out the award to.
Oh, I have options. Each category has. This is
You
like
have
the
options.
Oscars. Okay,
This is like the Oscars.
perfect.
I am going to announce
Finally.
the nominees for
Finally.
each category, and you are going to select the winner.
And unlike
okay?
the Oscars, I haven't seen those movies. I think I
Never?
know I've seen these movies.
You're going to know every single one of these movies, or in this case, nominees.
Because
you will
we've
know
covered
all the
them ad
stories.
nauseum. Mhm.
We covered them all year. This is from our vault.
Let's do it.
And our vault is large. Here's the first category, the Anti-Woke Company of the Year. Okay? You can judge this however you want to judge this.
Anti-Woke Company of the Year. Wow.
Anti-Woke Company of the Year. Okay? The first nominee for Anti-Woke Company of the Year, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank.
Anti-Woke Company of the Year. Okay.
Because of this. Here's the quote from Arizona Representative Andy Biggs. I'm not saying 12 white men would have avoided this mess, but the company may have been distracted by diversity demands. They were, and everybody blamed them. And they were they were one of the companies the anti-woke really loved to hold up as an example why diversity is horrible. Okay.
Right. And Andy Biggs, I know he's most well known for going after Hunter Biden. That's who Andy Biggs is.
Yeah, of course. Who hasn't, really? Number 2 nominee, and this is an obvious one. It's just Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light.
Okay, but I'm trying to figure this out though. They're the anti-woke company. Okay, I'm trying to figure that. Okay, keep going.
It's basically favorite companies of the anti-woke.
In the anti-woke news, sure.
The anti-woke don't hold up companies as good. They only tell you what's terrible.
All right, keep going.
Like, the number 3 option is Chick-fil-A, who you mentioned already.
Yeah, why Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A, here's the headline that I pulled. Chick-fil-A sparks anti-woke outrage for VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion post.
Yeah, this is when Fox News wondered if they jumped the shark with the anti-woke movement, that we're going after one of our most beloved Christian companies.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what happened was on Twitter, people realized that there was a DEI person at Chick-fil-A that was hired 2 years earlier, and all of a sudden they were a target for boycotting. And they're still a target for boycotting, although I'm not sure it's hurt Chick-fil-A at all. And then finally, Norfolk Southern. For this quote,
okay,
I want to remind you, quote, after seeing another Norfolk Southern train derailed this weekend, that was the second train after the big Ohio crash, I was reminded of the fact that the company wrote to shareholders stating that it focused on DEI. This is from Representative Collins on the House floor. This administration's focus on DEI is forcing private companies to rethink their goals, and one has to wonder, was Norfolk Southern's DEI policies directing resources away from the important things like greasing wheel bearings?
Yeah.
Now this insanity must stop.
I like it. I mean, there's a lot to like here. I mean, first of all, A round of applause to the Biden administration that they're so fast and ruthless with their focus on DEI that they transformed the Norfolk Southern culture like in what 6 months?
Well, look, Biden came in.
Yeah.
Norfolk Southern stopped greasing the ball
almost
bearings.
Immediately, right?
Immediately stopped.
Yeah.
And it took 3 years
Yeah.
for the train to fall off the track because it wasn't greased properly.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. I mean, if the Biden administration is that strong, then I think we owe them a lot of credit. That's pretty powerful.
I think it's pretty
The other thing
good.
I like here is that it's not a private company; it's a public company.
It is a public company.
Anti-woke company there. So no Disney. I was expecting Disney here. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Disney was very 2022.
Okay.
But Disney makes another appearance
another list. Yeah,
a
go
bit
ahead.
later. But it's worth saying about Norfolk Southern, their head of the safety committee on the board
Yes, I remember this.
was first of all not actually a safety expert until the year before
yeah.
he was made the head of the safety
I think
committee.
what you're trying to say is that he knows nothing about safety.
He knew nothing. Yeah, I think that's the way to say it. His name is Michael Lockhart.
And let's not forget that shareholders didn't seem to care about any of this. All the directors
He got
reelected.
an 85%,
Yeah.
86% vote this year
Something
after
bad-
the train derailed.
Something bad happened at Norfolk Southern, but it had nothing to do clearly with the named executive officers or the directors.
Or the director who actually oversees
Yes.
that. So those are your options: SVB, Anheuser-Busch / Bud Light, Chick-fil-A, Norfolk Southern.
I'll just make this quick, although that quote about SVB is gold.
It's fantastic.
But I think this just has to be Anheuser.
But he's not saying that 12 white men would have avoided.
Yeah, he's not
this
saying
tax.
that.
That's what.
so I can't
not
vote. So I
saying
can't vote
that.
for that one. This one just has to be Anheuser-Busch. I think it's just because it
I
created such
unfortunately
a
agree with
horrible
you.
firestorm. It's hard to avoid that one.
Unless
not-
I
and
unfortunately agree with
As
you.
an addendum to that, I do know that Kid Rock is back in the news this last week, saying like, "Can we end this boycott against Bud Light?" He's having second feelings.
That's so nice of him.
All right, what
All
else?
right, next award. This category actually is right up our wheelhouse, and I think I missed some, but I'm gonna read off what I got here. The anti-woke shareholder proposal of the year.
Oh, okay, it's exciting.
Okay, your first option is a shareholder proposal filed at Marriott. It was a resolution requesting that the company publish a congruency report of partnerships with globalist organizations. It was our first mention of globalists.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah, I was hoping for elitist, but globalist works.
No, this was a globalist filed by the National Center for Public Policy Research, NCPPR. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they put in it was, quote, that one of the reasons why they wanted this report, they listed how Marriott worked with the World Economic Forum in the past and worked with the Rockefeller Foundation, which is a globalist organization, but also because, quote, past Bilderberg meetings have been held inside Marriott hotels.
Oh,
That was what Bilderberg is an off-the-record forum that actually meets between some European and American Illuminati. It's been happening since the 50s.
oh, I thought you said Build-A-Bear. So you're saying Build-A-Berg.
No, Bilderberg.
Okay.
Bilderberg. That's number one. Number two, Microsoft, which had the gender-based compensation report filed by the National Legal and Policy Center that included this amazing, hideous line about women who, quote, choose not to abort preborn babies, end quote, and how they get paid less.
Because they don't get the benefit to abort their.
They are not getting benefits
preborn
compared to the
baby.
abortee people. So rolls that in with trans people get more health benefits and so such and such.
It's weird that they think of you get paid more because you get a benefit for a medical procedure.
Well,
I guess it's part of total compensation. Is that what they're saying?
The problem, yes, but the problem here is, by this logic, if you are obese, you are also paid more. If you are basically, if you have any health need
What about
at all, you get paid more.
What about men who choose not to curtail their pre-smoked cigarettes?
Ooh.
Or did
That
they
one
get
did not
paid?
appear. It didn't.
Do they get paid more when they get lung cancer treatment?
They do. They
Right?
do, but it did not appear here.
Okay.
Your third option is Boeing shareholder proposal but that last one was National Legal and Policy Center.
Mm-hmm.
The Boeing one also is National Legal Policy Center. And these are part of a series of throw in a Uyghur proposals in which they said shareholders are entitled to full and transparent disclosure of what efforts Boeing is exerting to persuade its Chinese business partners to end their unconscionable oppression of their Uyghur Muslim and other Muslim ethnic minority populations. Basically saying they're tolerating the subjugation of Uyghurs.
Because we know that the right in this country is big on fighting the oppression of Muslim communities. It's one of the most important things to the right
all
in
they
this
do
country.
is talk about Muslim ethnic minorities anymore.
Of course.
And they contrast it with Boeing has a racial justice and DEI policies, but they're hypocrites because they're okay with Uyghurs.
Hats off to find one group, the Uyghurs. It's the one group that the right and left can kind of agree on, right? The right, because they're it's basically a proxy to attack the Chinese, and the left because it's a proxy to attack the corporates who do what? Why does the left why do they support the Uyghurs?
Because they're not a big fan generally of people who contravene some sort of human rights.
But why is it always the Uyghurs, though? I'm saying, there are human rights violations from corporations across the globe, including in our very own,
they don't like any of them,
including in our own country. No, I know, but there's a lot of attention paid to this one subset.
But there's a lot of Uyghurs, and the Chinese government has been accused of using specifically Uyghurs in labor for corporations.
Well,
it's like a way to get
I'm not voting for Boeing anyway. This one is easy because I think it's the first instance where I did a double take while analyzing a proxy, and I don't remember seeing language just so blatantly hateful and insipid. And that's the language from the Microsoft proposal.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Because as you said, not only did they say something about choosing not to abort preborn babies, but they also had they had to also attack trans people in there too for some reason.
They just throw in a trans there is this thing that seems to happen. I think the anti-woke tried a couple of these globalist proposals that really did not go well, and then they've pivoted. And they did some. They had been doing some of these Uyghur proposals. In fact, that Boeing proposal got 7% for votes.
Well, as I said,
the best performing.
As I said, the Uyghur thing, it does appeal to both sides a little bit.
But now they're pivoting to throw a trans person in there and say discrimination. It's a new low.
Well, here's why. Because I've spent a lot of time on a lot of the websites of these people, and they basically use this to fundraise off of. They don't care about what these proposals are asking for, what's really going on with these corporations. They just use it to fundraise.
They wouldn't even know what to do with the report if they got the report that they were asking
They're just
for.
using it for extra money for their pointless organizations. All right, what else you got?
All right, here we go. Anti-woke Fund of the Year.
Fund of the Year. Okay, fund.
Yeah, there are three options.
There's one I'm thinking it has to be, but go ahead.
First is the Second Vote Society Defended ETF.
I remember this,
which was forced to liquidate because nobody bought it.
Yeah. What was that one again?
It screened out companies that, quote, oppose Second Amendment
rights, right.
Border security, civil society, or support for law enforcement. There is, when it liquidated, the fund manager, David Black, said, quote, there is an overall failure in either our messaging or a commitment by conservatives and Christians to actually take meaningful steps to counter the successful, radical, ESG, woke, leftist agenda.
Since when do Christians care about gun rights? Why is that a thing? Why would that be a thing?
Because you got to shoot all the infidels.
I thought Christians were supposed to be pacifists at their core. No?
Not when you're shooting infidels.
Not when you're shooting things, okay.
But we did an analysis of Second Vote, which offers ratings, woke ratings.
Yeah, I remember this. Yes.
We analyzed 1,000 of them and found that
with the methodology scribbled on the back of a Twix package found in the Dallas airport. Yeah,
I think they saw it on the wall of the Madison Square Garden
on a greasy
bathroom.
Wendy's bag. Yeah.
But we found that their methodology systematically hated three things, which was companies that manage any sort of carbon emissions or environmental issues.
Women.
Companies that have unions.
Women.
And companies that have women on the board, particularly if they're powerful. Yeah.
I knew we were getting to women.
We could demonstrate with data that that's what they excluded.
Yeah. And I bet the companies that manage carbon emissions probably have a lot of women in those roles that are trying to manage
things
carbon
effectively
emissions.
end up being the same thing.
Yeah.
Your second option is Strive.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the early front runner, Strive.
Strive's their S&P 500 ETF. And this is why we analyze Strive's votes multiple times throughout the year. They vote out women. They're not different than Second Vote, but Strive has had to pivot thanks to Vivek being so anti-woke and loud in his political campaign and just being a MAGA-ist.
Yeah,
right?
I got to say hats off to the founder of Strive, co-founder of Strive, Ramaswamy, because he probably the most, and this is the year that include like Sam Bankman-Fried and people like that, quite clearly the most hated man in America, right? I mean, this guy is just ridiculed everywhere. From the left and the right. Yes. From the left and the right. He is just hated, universally despised.
He had the Ramaswamy tsunami earlier in the year.
And everybody loves its tsunami, right? That's a
loves
cuddly beast that we all want to kiss on. Yeah.
But they've had to pivot. The new CEO, Matt Cole, who is ex-CalPERS, I think.
CalSTRS, right?
Is it STRS? It's PERS or STRS.
It's
I can't remember.
It's a Cal.
He said they circulated a letter internal to Strive saying Strive is, quote, seen as a political over investment oriented fund, which has turned off investors. They were having a hard time raising money. So they changed all the messaging to be shareholder value stuff, not woke.
Well, that's political. Surprising. So, because isn't the motto, the rallying cry of those people like go woke, go broke? So what does it mean what does it mean for go anti-woke?
Well, they sent a bunch of letters early on in their launch, and it was letters to Disney and talking about DEI and woke. In fact, we covered this year the 5 principal questions to ask your financial advisor. If you
those were troubling, yes.
And the number one question, and this is not an exaggeration, the first question listed to ask your financial advisor is, are you investing in companies that did a racial equity audit?
Yeah.
And therefore,
run for the hills.
You shouldn't invest in them, right? So Strive is a very strong contender here. But you have a third option, and simply because it's just too much for me. The God Bless America ETF.
Oh God, okay.
Y'all is the ticker, and this is why. Quote: this is a quote from their website. Quote: an investment for God-fearing, flag-waving conservatives.
Huh?
That's it. God-fearing, flag-waving conservatives.
I'm not I know it's going to surprise you. I'm not a religious person.
No, really.
Yeah, it might shock you. But what is with the God-fearing? Why is that fun? What are we doing there?
But it may explain why you need so many guns for the Second Amendment, Second Vote Society defended ETF.
Is this part of the reason why people love horror movies so much? Is it the same kind of a thing?
If you're afraid of God, then you need a gun to defend in case he shows up and you haven't done the right thing. I don't know.
So their largest holding is NVIDIA.
The largest holding is NVIDIA. NVIDIA, who, like, if you are a God-fearing, flag-waving American conservative, it would not make you happy that NVIDIA announced that they're selling new chips to China. They're selling a lot of chips to China.
I'll also tell you this, that if you care about the people who run your companies, anyone who's invested with God Bless America ETF, read some interviews and articles about CEO Jensen Huang over there at NVIDIA. He's not going to be. Let's just say it's not a good match. It's not a match made in heaven. Let's just say that.
Well, if you're looking for a match made in heaven,
Yeah.
wouldn't you go for the? Oh, I guess this is the God Bless America. Yeah, you would go here. So those are your three options. You've got
come on.
Strive, Second Vote, God Bless America.
As much as kind of Second Vote and God Bless America kind of. No pun intended, like trumped the craziness of Strive. Strive is clearly the winner here.
Strive is the winner. I did not choose the. I didn't choose the MAGA fund.
Can I just tell you,
MAGA.
as a side note to this whole go woke, go broke year that we're having, Anheuser-Busch, right when the shit hit the fan, right, was at about $66, right?
Yeah.
And the stock price, and it's now roughly at $64.
Wow,
so
broke.
it has rallied back from its dip. The go woke, go broke thing, I guess, is a completely meaningless exercise of expression. There is no go woke, go broke. It doesn't exist.
They're broke now. They've lost.
Okay, yeah. Anheuser-Busch has failed and collapsed.
Yeah, they no longer exist.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that should no longer exist, how about the anti-woke legislation of the year?
Oh, wow. You have a lot of these left. I should talk less. Yeah, go ahead.
First, the Florida amendment to Section 215.855.
That's a good one.
In their investment policies. Quote, any written communication made by an investment manager to a company in which such manager invests public funds on behalf of a government entity must include a disclaimer that's conspicuous in location if that letter sent discusses social, political, or ideological interests.
I remember we discussed this originally, which is basically every interest,
everything
known to the world, is
to
either
Earth.
social, political, or ideological. Yeah.
So now, effectively, we coined this as the Larry Fink letter amendment. So every time Larry Fink writes a letter, they have to write at the bottom of the letter now, by Florida law, the views and opinions expressed in this communication are those of the sender and do not reflect the views and opinions of the people of the state of Florida.
I almost have to feel bad for Florida. I mean, the one guy who completely just the whole thing blew up on it is Ron DeSantis, right? Florida was where woke went to die, and
yeah, he said that,
and he's probably the single reason why that movement has collapsed, because everybody hates him. Everybody thinks that the go woke or go broke thing is ridiculous. No, I'm just saying, like, he completely ruined the movement. It's over, it seems. But go ahead.
I mean, the spokespeople for the movement were Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy.
Mike Pence a little bit. He weighed in.
He did weigh in, and he dropped out of the race first.
Elon Musk talks about ESG a bit. In fact, John Oliver had a 30-minute takedown of Elon Musk this week, and Elon Musk's response was, "What you used to be funny before you went woke, so I don't care."
Oh, yeah, no, he went woke recently.
It's a good,
it's
a good comeback though, right? Go ahead.
Number 2, Texas SB 883.
Yep.
Which is their insurance oversight.
Go ahead.
Quote, except as provided by a different section, an insurer may not use an environmental, social, or governance model, score, factor, or standard to charge a rate different than the rate to another business or risk in the same class for essentially the same hazard. Meaning, you cannot charge a different insurance rate based on an environmental, social, or governance model, score, or fact. I love that you can't use a factor.
Yeah.
You can't use a data point to charge a different rate based on a data point. That's effectively what it's saying.
Yeah. I mean, the sad thing, too, is having worked at an organization that created a lot of these data points, there are, to a rule, they're all publicly available data points that you can either find in their proxy or on their website, or right. And none of this stuff it's not like made up fairy dust data points. It's all stuff that can easily be sourced. The validity to which can be sourced almost immediately.
But what's interesting about this, the way this is written, is that so if you have a utility that lives on the coastline that gets hit by hurricanes 4 times a year,
which is all over. You're just basically describing Texas, East Texas,
right. Or a utility that's somewhere like in the center of the state that doesn't get hit ever by a hurricane because of where it is. You cannot use a data point about that hurricane to suggest that one company in this one utility has a higher rate of insurance than the other utility. You have to set the rates exactly the same. So what they inadvertently do with this legislation is increase the insurance rates for every industry that faces any environmental, social, governance risk, because they do include in there governance model. As
a proofreader, I could save them some space here. Instead of saying it may not use an environmental, social, governance model, blah, blah, blah factor, why don't they just say an insurer may not use a fact to charge a rate different, right? No facts are allowed to make a determination in this regard. Okay, go ahead. What else you got?
It can only be something you found in a J.R.R. Tolkien novel.
Or on the back of that Wendy's bag at the Atlanta airport where Strive created its methodologies.
Atlanta's not Texas, so you can only find it in Texas. And by the way, these are only legislations that passed. I did not choose anything that was proposed.
Okay, what else?
This passed. Finally, Wyoming, their state investment board rule amendment that suggested pecuniary factors do not include the furtherance of environmental, social, governance, political, or ideological interests. And here is why I love what they wrote in Wyoming, because they added this. And this is in the state's rules for the investment board. These ideological investment criteria, which have crippled, corrupted, disadvantaged, subverted, damaged, or otherwise harmed the children.
Oh, they crippled the children. I didn't realize
this. They crippled the children.
I was wondering what crippled all the children in Wyoming.
The furtherance of environmental, social, governance, political, and ideological interests have crippled the children.
Wow,
that's what it did. So those are passed. Those are your 3. Florida amendment, where everything needs a disclaimer if there's a letter involved. So everything. No insurance can use a factor or fact. And Wyoming saying that ESG crippled children. This is great. Look, I love legislation.
I will say that apologies to Wyoming, because that's the best one out of the 3. But I have to go. The winner has to be Texas, because all things stupid and crazy are happening in Texas. And this whole idea that you're joking, but essentially you're paraphrasing really well, that you can't use a fact to make a determination in your own business to which you determine how to insure things. You can't use a factor.
Is there anything that isn't a governance data factor or data point? Like, everything is a governing. That means you can't consider the people who run the companies. You can't consider where the companies are. You can't consider who works for the company. You can't consider anything. I love that. It's great. All right.
So I think what you're saying is you want to open some hotel chains on swampland. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we could definitely get it insured.
All right. What else you got?
Here are this one's a quicker category. The anti-woke celebrity blowhard of the year.
Oh, this seems easy, but what do you got?
First up is Scott Adams / Dilbert.
We haven't talked about Scott Adams. That was this year? I thought that was last year.
That was this year. Dave, here's the I'll read this is they have a comic where I'm pretty sure. Yeah. That was early 2023.
Because I hate to really focus in on the image that you created for our pre-production notes, but it does say right there, bottom right corner, September 20th, 2022.
Oh no. Well, Scott Adams.
But go ahead.
ended
This is a
up
great
getting-
Dilbert. Go ahead. I don't want. I just won't
So
vote
the
for this one. But
Dilbert
go
is
ahead.
from
Go ahead.
2022, but he has his racist rant in 2023
Go ahead.
that gets him canceled.
This is a crazy Dilbert. Read it.
The Dilbert he wrote that basically kicked off Scott Adams as an anti-woke warrior is there are two employees. One is black, one is white. The white guy is saying,
or are they? I don't know.
Wait for it.
Yeah.
Dave, the white guy says, Dave, I need to boost our company's ESG rating, so I'm promoting you to be our CTO.
Which we chuckled at, Matt, because the person in the role of CTO at a public corporation has absolutely no bearing on any ESG rating in the universe.
Never.
Maybe
has
one day.
anyone ever
Maybe
said-
one day. Maybe we should do that, but it doesn't actually have any effect on any ESG rating.
The white man goes on, I know you identify as white, so that won't help our ESG scores, but would it be too much trouble to identify as gay?
Right. So there's a
To
weird
which-
subtext here is that the black man identifies as a white man. That's the weird.
That's right.
The weird
That's-
chuckle here. The haha.
So that's a chuckle because
Yeah.
like you can identify as anything. That's the chuckle.
Uh-huh.
And then the black man says, depends how hard you want me to sell it.
Yep.
And the white guy replies, just wear better shirts, which I don't even get. I don't
Oh,
get
now
that.
I get this. So I guess the black man is saying, do I have to sleep with other men in order to like sell the fact that I'm gay?
Right, and
That's
the
his
white
fear.
guy's saying like you have to dress nicer. But have you met any gay people? It's not like a that's not even a good stereotype.
Yeah. Well, up where I live in Portland, Maine, everyone looks the same. So it doesn't really matter if you're gay
No,
or
you
straight.
look like you just killed a bear.
Yeah.
So Scott Adams he ended up going on a racist rant on his YouTube live show.
Yeah,
in
basically
which
saying
he
like,
said
don't. Yeah. What was it? Don't be
it was
afraid of all
white
black
people.
or-
Shouldn't live near black people.
Yeah.
Black people are racist against white people. Elon Musk weighed in and said he agreed with Scott Adams.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Elon Musk because to me that was the front runner of the anti-woke celebrity blowhard of the year.
So Musk is another contender here. I'm not even going to say the things that Musk
Don't
said.
even bother.
It was just
Who else?
litany of ridiculous.
Who else is in
and then
this category?
finally, I wanted to give you a dark horse, which won't win, but I forgot that this happened. Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, the aged rocker.
The aged rocker who called woke ideology laughable, and he slammed the trans fad. Cooper said, quote, I find it wrong when you've got a 6-year-old kid who has no idea. He just wants to play and you're confusing him, telling him, yeah, you're a boy, but you could be a girl if you want to be. This
Right.
from
Said
a man
no parent
named...
ever.
Yeah. This from a man, A, named Alice,
Yeah.
and
Ooh.
B, who routinely dressed up in all manner of thing and did all crazy stuff throughout his career.
Yeah. To get attention.
Saying that kids are confused.
I'm going to add to this category a little bit because there's a whole group now of middle-aged white men like Alice Cooper who are like this is their thing now. This is like they're sitting on the porch that they're yelling at the children thing, right? Like
Yeah.
It's Alice Cooper. It's who else is in this list? Bill Maher, the Joe Rogan types,
Yeah, Joe Rogan was always
Bill
there.
Burr. I think he does it now a little bit. I can't think of them all, but there's a category here. Piers Morgan.
Bill Maher is interesting because he was like an avatar of the left and has very quickly become an avatar of the right in some ways. But I don't think that they have nearly as much of have had nearly the 2023 that like Scott Adams and Musk have had. Alice Cooper's not going to win.
So to make it easy, it's Elon Musk.
Oh, I actually sort of want to disagree with you.
You can't.
And I want it to be Scott Adams.
It's up to me.
But
There's no bigger anti-woke celebrity blowhard ever than Elon Musk because he's not even. I'll give a little bit more credit to Scott Adams. Scott Adams is actually almost clever about how he does it. Elon Musk is really insipid in his thought process. His anti-woke thought process is actually like a dumbed-down version of Donald Trump. It's really, it's shockingly.
I don't know the dumbed down is
absent
the right way to
of
say
nuance. Like there's just nothing going on. It's just nothing happening.
Can you say dumbed down? I'm not sure there is a dumber down.
I don't know. Maybe it's not possible.
All right, your next category, and there's only 2 categories after this. There's only one nominee for this category.
All right. I'll still take it seriously and I'll still vote.
It is the anti-woke defense of the year.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say here.
And this is Disney's Royal Clause.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The greatest defense of anything. I actually put the Royal Clause in here, but it is the declaration shall continue in effect until 21 years after the death of the last survivor of the descendants of King Charles III,
Yep.
King of England, living as of the date of this declaration. 21 years after the death of the last survivor. Why 21? I don't even know.
Yeah, I remember we looked this up. There is a reason why they chose 21.
There is a reason, but this was to secure the rights of the Reedy Creek, management with Disney, and any real property within 10 miles. The after effect of this was DeSantis was so mad that he basically said, "We're going to put prisons around Disneyland, like
Yeah.
Disney, like This was a fantastic.
That could be a fun
little
ride,
move.
though. That could be for the kids.
This is why I didn't include Disney in the anti-woke company of the year, because like the Oscars, like you really don't want like one movie taking everything. Disney could have swept almost everything.
All right, so that's the
so
anti-woke
I-
defense of the year, the Disney's
That's
Royal
it.
Clause. I'm
There's only
going
one.
to vote for that. What else you got?
Here are the woke cowards of the year.
Woke cowards of the year. Okay.
Yeah, in the anti-woke awards, these are the basically the people that the anti-woke can hold up as we won, because
Okay,
these
go
are
ahead.
woke cowards. Number 1 is Larry Fink.
Oh,
he's obviously
like the Uyghurs. He's attacked from the left and the right.
yeah.
Oh no, I'm
he
sorry.
actually-
Well, the Uyghurs aren't attacked, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
but they agree, right?
they agree.
BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says he's officially retiring ESG as an investing term.
But didn't
he
didn't
ran
come
away.
out? But didn't a few months later, didn't he come out and say something like he was making fun of legislation somewhere attacking ESG?
I mean, he's saying everything, but
Saying everything.
he's no longer using the term ESG. Was that?
Yeah, that's
that I think
Larry.
he's consistent
a bit
on.
disappointing. Why would you?
Yeah,
Why would
come
you?
on.
I mean, why would you cower to a bunch of idiots in Texas? It just doesn't
Come
seem
on,
very.
Larry.
Come on, you're better than that.
Don't be a
Larry.
mo.
Be strong.
Number 2, the tandem of Tariq Fancy and Desiree Fixler.
My favorites. Yeah, I love these two.
Who said, quote, "It's time to dismantle this circus. ESG has served its purpose."
What was the
They said
purpose?
that at a conference.
What was the purpose?
It's unclear to me what they think the purpose of gathering data was.
Yeah,
Like,
what
the
was?
ESG
It's over.
It's over. We shouldn't do that anymore, I guess.
Because he's automated it, or because we don't need the data anymore. Which is it?
No, because like they also conflate the data with an outcome. So they think it's out in the world now. Stop saying ESG.
Well, Tariq, should we stop talking about? Let's say that we get rid of all the data, right? Because it's over.
okay.
Are we
okay,
allowed
we're-
to even talk about the subjects that might ESG subject matter? Are we allowed to talk about, for instance, like the CEO of a company? Because that's a pretty big corporate
No,
governance
stop
topic.
it.
No,
Just stop it.
it's over.
And finally, proxy voters as the woke cowards of the year.
It's always every year.
Vanguard joins BlackRock in rejecting more ESG proposals from shareholders. This was one of the biggest years
Yeah.
for shareholder proposal rejection in the face of the pressure from the anti-woke, or at least that's how
Vanguard,
it's been spun.
BlackRock, State Street, all got afraid of all the anti-woke rhetoric in Texas.
And we called this as like, it's not nearly, it's a reversion to the mean. It's not, this isn't them like, cowering, but the narrative's out there. They're running away. They didn't double down. They didn't say, we have more data. We're being smarter. They didn't say any of that. They just voted less. That's what they did. So this is actually, Fink seems like the front runner, but between Fink, Fancy Fixler, and proxy voters writ large not voting for ESG stuff, there's some competition here. I feel like this is a category up for grabs.
I mean, I'm biased on this one. Usually I've been voting for the front runner, but I have to vote for my favorite duo, and that's Tariq Fancy and Desiree Fixer.
Wow, that's probably the third option I would have thought. Wow.
Only because they just encapsulate the anti-ESG industry so well, right? They're so glib. It's so meaningless. I just love it. I love their last names, Fancy and Fixler. Didn't one of them say that ESG, the people who work in the ESG industry are all underqualified? Who said that?
Yeah, it was Tariq Fancy. He said
It's just
most people in ESG are underqualified.
Just the nonsense he piles on. I'm sorry. I just have to vote for that one.
What bothers me most about them is that they went into ESG thinking there's a right way to do it, not that this is a data set you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, you can be upset that Fixler is right that DWS overstated its green bona fides,
sure.
And Fancy's right that BlackRock didn't actually do anything or hope to accomplish anything with ESG except market funds.
Well, yeah.
But then they went on to shit on all of ESG. They basically just said it's all bullshit, and it's not, you idiots.
And that's why I didn't vote for Fink or like Vanguard, because they never really were ESG people. They never really were fighting the fight. True. So I don't know that they're cowards as much as flip-floppers, or I don't even know what they are. Yeah.
But the anti-woke are holding them up, saying like, look at our victories. Fink is now backing off of ESG.
Fink is now
That's
what?
Why they're there.
Yeah. Is it backing off? How?
Yeah,
backing
saying the
acronym?
ESG.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess so.
What else you got?
And your final category.
Okay, now I can wake up. Come on.
The anti-woke wash of the year.
Kind of like a green wash?
So it's whatever the opposite of a greenwash is, where you say that you're anti-woke, but you're actually not that anti-woke, right? Like, so it's an anti-green wash.
Yeah, because I think we've talked about this. We've talked about this many times. Using, like, say, Strive as an example. They know what they're saying is full of shit.
Yes, that's why. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, how could you look at the market? How could you even attempt to analyze a company these days without using ESG data? It's stupid to not take all those potential risk factors into play when you're analyzing a company.
Well, forget those risk factors. They still have to vote their proxies, which means they're doing ESG. They're doing the G part. Yes, they just have a different view of ESG, G, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is ESG. So, and first up is Vivek Ramaswamy himself. With this headline from mid-year, Ramaswamy investments seem at odds with his position on woke culture because he owned positions in his personal portfolio, according to FEC filings, with a number of companies that have a tremendous amount of diversity and DEI initiatives, including he owns over $1 million in Microsoft.
Yeah, and Microsoft is one of the darlings of a woke corporate, ESG corporate darling, Microsoft.
Is there anybody who doesn't think they're woke? They're a AAA rated ESG company. They're one of the top ESG companies.
Forget about that, but the godfather of Microsoft is Bill Gates. I mean, he's basically Fauci, right? He's Larry Fink. He's the woke devil, no? Bill Gates?
I mean, everybody else would say that.
Bill Gates is
the
chips
globalist.
And implanting something. What's he doing? I don't know what he's doing.
He is the globalist.
He's the globalist, absolutely.
And then your second option here is Texas, Oklahoma, all of the states that have this anti-ESG legislation, Montana. Here's the headline. Republican-controlled states like Oklahoma are rushing to invest in clean energy,
of course.
Even as conservative groups push for more oil and gas.
Well, this is what I've said all along is like, just shut up and go make some money like you usually do. Like, investing in clean energy is smart. Just do it and shut up. Leave me alone.
But isn't this the great anti-greenwash, anti-good, like a woke wash, whatever it would be? Like, this is amazing stuff when they're investing one way and saying another thing, which includes in there the third nominee, Texas, and their fossil fuel discrimination list, which they created a list in 2022 of asset managers that were boycotted by the state because of their stance against fossil fuels. They added this year 5 companies to their divestment list for ESG anti-oil. And of the companies all told that are on their boycott list, just one is a U.S. company that matters at all, and it is BlackRock. They
of
didn't
course.
exclude J.P. Morgan or Bank
Right.
of America or Goldman Sachs, or because they couldn't do business if they did that.
Yeah.
There is no greater anti-woke wash than pretending that you have legislation to avoid companies that are discriminating against your industry, and then including one that has the largest position in oil and gas in the world, that's BlackRock, that just happens to be run by your new globalist, Larry Fink.
I'm going to vote for the only person who was on our show, Vivek Ramaswamy,
Wow,
as the anti-woke
really?
wash of the year. Because remind the audience, Matt, didn't we basically trick him into admitting
We did.
that what did we trick him into admitting?
Damien, we had him play the good game. Damien pulled a headline about
female CEOs.
Female CEOs in the Fortune 500, to which he responded, he did not care. He said the idea that we're counting the number of female CEOs in the Fortune 500 is ludicrous. And we got into a long debate about, well, just by math, shouldn't there be more female CEOs
Because they're
in
more
the Fortune
qualified,
500?
more educated, right?
They're more educated. They're more qualified. They tend to and they only represent 5% of the Fortune 500 or 10%. It's some
8%,
ridiculous,
I believe. Yeah.
Some ridiculously small number. By math, shouldn't there be more? And he went on to admit that because of systemic barriers to women getting placed in positions,
Yeah.
black people getting educated, that's the explanation for why there aren't so many.
Because generationally, right, they'll catch up because they were held back before, right?
Yes. So he used something that is called in colleges critical race theory
Of course.
to describe why there are not so many diverse cohorts in Fortune 500
By
CEO
breaking down the
positions.
systemic barriers that you will essentially level the playing field.
And then he said he had to go.
Yeah.
That was basically where the interview ended.
I mean,
we didn't.
The reason why I
finish
choose
the
it
game.
not only because he was on our show, because I just know, having just spent an hour with him and listening to a lot of things he said over the year, I just know he knows he's full of shit.
He 100% knows.
And in fact, all this stuff that he's doing about there's now a conspiracy about January 6th and 9/11 and all this stuff with Trump. He's clearly pandering to something. He knows he's full of shit. It's clear.
Yeah. Well, I think he's pandering to Trump to get a vice presidential nominee. So
And that was our original. That was actually one of our original predictions on one of our.
That was one of your predictions. Yeah, he would go for that. But that's it. That's what we got.
Wow, that's a lot. Impressive.
It was a lot.
Let's hope that in 2024 there's just no material for another anti-woke award show. Let's hope it dies.
False. There will be plenty of material. The anti-woke awards are in. There's some big winners going home with trophies tonight. But the biggest winner is you, the listener of this podcast, because you get a chance to go download. Tomorrow we're going to drop another Proxy Countdown, a new show where you can get all the information. I think tomorrow's big vote is at Costco.
Costco, everyone's favorite.
Costco. Come on, everybody shops there. Don't you want to know who runs that company?
I do. I've never been there, but I want to know who runs it.
Yeah, you need to know. Otherwise, we'll have a couple more shows. I think 1 or 2 more shows before the year is out. Until then, goodbye.